it's priming day for me today, so I just kind of want to show you my process of what I do when I get my pieces ready to be primed. So my number one go-to thing is these little cardboard trays. I take them when I'm done with my water bottles, I save them, I use them for so many things, spraying hardware, to carry my materials in and out of the shop. These trays are so important to me because at the end of whatever I'm working on, I just throw them in the garbage and clean up is that easy. So what I do is for priming, these are my most important tools that I use. I have my bins primer. This is my number one primer I use. One, it's shellac based, so it will stop bleed through. When I say bleed through, what I mean is the natural tannins that's in the wood. Most paints are water based, so whenever you put that water base over your wood, it will naturally draw out the tannins that the wood itself has. So using a shellac base primer will stop those tannins and bleed through. So especially with light colors, I use a lot of light colors, so not every single one of my pieces are primed just because I do not want any chance of any tannins coming through. So I have my bins primer. And then what I have is I have a little cup and a tray. So because I like the rim of my primer nice and clean. I don't really like pouring it out because it just is messy. Then you get so many drips on the outside of your can. So what I like to do is I like to take a little cup, scoop it in there, pour it into my paint tray, put it in my tray, and then again, easy cleanup. So what I have is I have my paint tray, and I always line it with these aluminum foil sheets. I get them at Costco. They're like pop-ups, so they're easy to get out of the box and everything. And then what I do is I just gently place it in my tray, in my paint tray. You don't have to push so hard down to the corners or anything, because then I find they would rip. So I kind of just do it nice and gentle. It doesn't have to be perfect because my brush doesn't go all the way to the end. I usually dip my, a roller. I usually just dip my roller in a little bit, get some excess off, and then I start priming. So let's put it in my tray just like that. Now my tray is ready to go for primer. Now when I'm done painting, all my pieces are either rolled or brushed. So I buy these Whizz Rollers right from Lowe's. And these rollers I use for paint. And then when I'm done, after doing a couple pieces, I always wash out my rollers because any water-based paint is easy to wash. Just warm soapy water. So I save these, and when I kind of see that they're being used a little bit, that's when I reuse them for my primer, because after your shellac-based primer, you're gonna toss them because it'll eventually start eating away at the foam and they just start to deteriorate. So these will go in the garbage once I'm done priming. So I just put them on my roller brush, my roller, and that's ready to go. I have my can opener, paint stirrers. I forget how much I have in here, so it depends on how much. I think I might be able to get away with the little one. So I put it on my tray just in case any any primer splashes over. It's always good to have your tray. And then you just open it up. I did give it a little shake beforehand, and shaking primer is fine. I let it rest a little bit for any air bubbles, any top sealers, polyacrylic, polyurethane, any type of stains, you definitely don't shake. But for primers, it's fine to shake. So I shook it, and now what I'm going to do is you're going to stir it, because inside some of the shellac, you'll see some of the, I guess it's the shellac, the yellow coloring, sometimes will come to the top. So I'm just going to take my stirrer and just mix it to incorporate all the shellac with the white primer. And then just really mix it very good. But I did give it a shake before, so it's fine. All right. So now here's my stick. I have it in my throwaway little container here. All right, so now I'm going to take my paint tray, dip it in here, let it come off a little bit, and then I put it right into my tray. Now the piece that I'm going to prime right here is the top of my cedar chest, and this is a solid red cedar chest So there's no veneer on top, there's nothing. So it's definitely all bleed through. So that's why it's very important to use your Bin's shellac primer. So I'm just gonna move all my stuff out of the way right over here. Okay. Primer is so hard to get off your hands, so I always use gloves. The paint that I use, the Chippy Barn Paint Company, it's fine once you get your paint on your hands. Just wash it off with soap and water and it's fine, but primer is very stubborn. It won't come off as easy. So what I do is I already wiped down, I sanded my whole piece. I filled in some of the holes that I want filled in with the Durham's putty, and then I sanded it nice and smooth, and I take a wet washcloth and I gently damp the whole piece to get all your extra sandings off and everything, and then I let it dry. So now it's ready for me to prime. So let me just show you how I do it. I'll put it on here and I'll be very careful that I don't splash over. And I just roll it nicely onto the roller. I'm gonna move this out of the way. Okay. And I just start to roll. And I know that I missed a lot of holes or cracks that I need to fill in, but that's the beauty of using primer as well. I'm able to see spots that I missed. And when I fill them in with the putty, it's fine, it's paintable, and you will not see it underneath your paint. Just try not to press so hard because you don't want to see where your lines are from the edge of your rollers. And if you do, you just gently go over them. Very easy, just like that. And let the roller do the work. You don't have to press so hard. Just enjoy doing it, nice and gentle. It'll get done. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to finish up priming this whole top and I will show you when it's all done. Alright guys, so I finished priming the top of my cedar chest. What I did was I took the roller off my handle, I put it inside the foil just like that, turned my gloves inside out, put it all here, and now cleanup was that easy. Tray is completely clean, ready to go right to paint if you had another project you wanted to paint. So I'm just gonna place this over here. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take my sanding block. It's a 3M 220, very soft, not very abrasive at all. It's not like a 60 or an 80 grit. It's a 220, it's very smooth. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over the whole piece with the grain of the wood, just as if I was gonna roll my paint on. And I just wanna go through and just smooth it out ever so gently. Nice and easy. And what I'm doing is I'm smoothing out the primer. If there's any like paint flakes or anything that maybe like an air bubble or something I got in the primer when I was rolling, it just smooths it all out. So when I apply my paint product, it'll go on nice and easy. After I'm done doing this, I'm gonna do it on my top, and I also did the base down here. I'm gonna go through and sand it all down. But now that I can see that, remember this is red cedar, I don't see much bleed through at all because of the Bin's primer. Now what I'm going to do is, because that primer highlighted all of the cracks and little holes and the knots and things like that, I'm going to take my wood filler now, because I want this to look very smooth. I don't want it looking too rustic. I want it nice and smooth. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put some wood filler in some of the cracks with my finger, just nice and easy. Take my sanding block over, gentle, because I don't want to take any of the primer off. And then this is gonna be ready for paint. The paint that I'm gonna be using is the Chippy Barnes Fine Finish Collection, and it's their new hybrid enamel paint. And I'm going to be using this paint because, one, it's enamel based. So we all know enamel is going to have a beautiful hard finish to it. It's gonna be very durable. And it's got a built-in sealer, so I don't have to put a top coat on it. Not only is it durable, it's also has a top coat built into it too. So the process is almost the same as if you were going to paint and put a top coat, because this does take a little more time to dry, so which is totally fine. It's just one less step than adding on a top coat. Same amount of time, just one less step. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply this product tomorrow. I'm going to let my primer really sit and cure and work its magic with blocking in all those tannins. And then tomorrow I'm going to put my enamel on. And the reason why I'm using the enamel too is because it's going to be used as a coffee table. And we all know coffee tables get a lot of traffic, a lot of usage on it, with decor and cups and channel changers and things like that. So I want this to be very durable for the person who's receiving this chest.